Speech off.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So I'm here to do my February wrap-up. This is the 29th of February, and honestly, I'm probably not going to read anymore because I need to prep for my What I Added to Goodreads video, which involves watching everybody else's videos and picking what I want to add to my list that I can talk about. And since I'm subscribed to a lot more channels, that takes some time. So anyway, I already got the first half done, so I might post that tonight. We'll see. But the one I can get done now is my wrap-up. So, here goes. First book I read was 44 Cranberry Point by Debbie Macomber. I give this one 4 stars. It is part of the Cedar Cove series. I can't really talk about it just because it's part of a series, and it's like one of those series where, well, you have to read it in order because, like, things happen with previous characters in previous books and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I'm really enjoying it. Can't wait to get through the rest of them. It's kind of fun because I haven't read these in a long time. So, like, the whodunit of it all, because there's, like, kind of a mystery surrounding who's following these, like, inn owners. These 2 people that are being followed. And no, they're trying to find out who killed someone at their inn. I'm thinking of book 5. Anyway, so yeah, either way, I read these so long ago that, like, it's all still good. You know, like, it's all a surprise. So yeah, there's that one. So thank you, Lizzie Faye, and whoever else started Debbie December, because I'm still in Debbie December. I'm going to be Debbieing all year. Next, I read Forever or a Long, Long Time by Kayla Carter. I heard about this one first through Chantel from Chantel Reads All Day. She reads a lot of foster care and, like, adoption stories, which I also love. And then Krista from Books and Jams read it when she read a book like Chantel. She did, like, this project where she picked a bunch of booktubers and read, like, each one of them for a month. And that month was reading like Chantel. So, I finally read this book. I'll read the description just because it just describes it better. And then I'll kind of talk about it. Flora and her brother Julian don't believe they were born. They've lived in many foster homes. They can't remember where they came from. And even now that they've been adopted, Flora still struggles to believe in forever. So along with their new mother, Flora and Julian begin a journey to go back and discover their past, for only then can they really begin to build their future. So, yeah, basically it's about these kids. What the description doesn't mention is that there's a father, too. Their new mother is married, and the dad also has a child, which makes things complicated. And I gave this book 5 stars initially, but, like, and I think I still stick by it, but there were some things that I kind of didn't like very much. Like, I liked their story, the kid's story, and, like, the journey they went on. They pretty much they're convinced they were never born, like, because they don't have any baby pictures or anything like that of them. So, like, they weren't born, you know. And so they kind of go back on this journey to all their previous homes and kind of fill in the gaps in their lives. Like, their mom takes them on this trip through their past, and that's really interesting. So, like, a lot of the story is focused on the mom, and like, it's interesting because Krista and Chantel didn't really mention the dad or even the stepchild that much, and that is really what caught my attention, because I felt really bad for the stepchild and even for the stepchild's mom. Like, I'm not going to say, oh, foster kids are bad and they shouldn't have, like, married into it. But, how do you expect your kid to react? Like, and your ex-wife, if you're marrying a woman who just adopted kids who have trauma and you barely see your own kid as it is. Like, you have every other weekend visitation. So I can completely understand why ex-wife is pissed. Like, you are going to be giving this attention to these new kids and neglecting mine. Like, even taking their side over my kid. And, I mean, don't get me wrong. It was her kid who started this fight. But still, like, I would probably be enraged as an ex if this were my situation. Like, I get why she's mad. Like, foster care and adoption should be kind of a family decision. And I've read, like, a lot of foster care memoirs by, like, Kathy Glass and Maggie Hartley and all these other authors who have taken in kids, and they write about the kids they take care of. And in all of them, they say, you need to be okay with this as a family or this cannot happen. And he didn't ask this girl if she was okay with it. He just married this woman who already had 2 very traumatized kids to take care of. And then he expected his kid to deal with it. And not to mention sleep on a pull-out couch every other weekend. Like, I would be saying, like, I wouldn't want anything to do with him if I was her and her mom. Like, I'm completely on their side and being mad about it. Because you blew up their lives for these kids. Like, when he barely sees his kid as it is. Like, how would that feel to be with your dad every other weekend and now he has these kids who need so much? Like, that sucks. So, like, I felt really bad, even though I'm not supposed to be on their side because, like, they're kind of mean. But I get it. Like, I don't know. Even as a fully grown adult, I don't know if I could actually, like, cope with that, especially if I had, like, divorced parents and, like, I don't know how I would feel, like, if my dad, like, remarried someone who had very traumatized kids and then gave me a pull-out couch to sleep on. So, yeah, like, it's funny because that's what I really focused on in this book. Even though I enjoyed, like, because it's all in Flora's perspective, the oldest kid, and so I did enjoy the adoption parts of it. But I couldn't help feeling for this man's previous family. Like, that's terrible. Also, one thing I did really enjoy was this counseling session the kids had, where they basically were, the mom hid some, like, mail from them from a previous foster carer, and they were upset about it, and, like, I guess what I liked about it was that the mom's kind of imperfect, and she apologizes for some of the mistakes she made, and kind of the therapist sets her straight, so I really enjoyed that. Like, I am kind of a grudge holder, but if you're willing to apologize and admit you're wrong, I respect you. So I liked that this mom, like, did a lot of screwing up throughout this book, but she also is trying, like, this whole time. This is not your Brady Bunch story. These kids have, like, severe trauma, so. But yeah, at the end of the day, I still, like, really left this book thinking about this other kid and how her dad blew up her life, and I felt so bad for her. Anyway, so I don't know. I hope Chantel and Krista watch this video, and kind of maybe comment on what my thoughts are on this book, like what they thought of the step kid and the ex-wife, because I've never heard anyone talk about them and, like, recapping this book. So anyway, then I read some books for the Little House Readathon. Braille Institute, or NLS, got the Caroline books, or most of them, on audio, and I've always wanted to read these. They're basically Little House books, but about Caroline. So I read Little House in Brookfield by Marie D. Wilkes. I give this one 3 stars. This one was kind of like Little House in the Big Woods, pretty much. Like, and I always found Little House in the Big Woods to be the most boring of the Little House books. No offense. But, yeah, I did. I just found it to be the most boring because it's literally just describing housework. And there's literally a whole chapter on Pa's gun. I said this in my Little House book reviews from last year, where I reviewed all of the Laura Ingalls Little House books. You can check that video out. But yeah, I could care less about how Pa, like, makes bullets. And there was a whole chapter just dedicated to his gun. I don't care. But so this book was kind of like that. But still, it was really interesting to kind of see Caroline's life, because it's basically right after her father passes away. It starts when Caroline is 5, which I guess is kind of similar to where Laura's book started. Little House in the Big Woods starts when she's 4 to 5 years old. Anyway. So Caroline's mom is a single mom, raising like 5 kids and in Brookfield after her husband doesn't come back from he was on a boat and I guess it sank. Can't remember where he was going, but it's pretty much just about how they live. So yeah, I enjoyed it. Then I read Family by Lori Frankel. I heard about this one through Book Talk, etc., and I had to read it as soon as it came out. I read This Is How It Always Is by Lori Frankel a few years ago, and I enjoyed that one. I enjoyed this one too, but not as much as This Is How It Always Is. I'll read the description, though. What did I give this book? I think 4 stars. Anyway, India Allwood grew up wanting to be an actress. Armed with a stack of index cards, which torn into pieces also function as makeshift confetti, and a hell of a lot of talent, she goes from awkward 16-year-old to Broadway ingenue, the TV star. But while promoting her most recent project, a film about adoption, India does what you should never do. She tells a journalist that it's a bad movie. Like so many stories about adoption, it tells only one story, a tragic one. But India is an adoptive mom herself and knows there's so much more to her family than tragedy. Soon she's at the center of a media storm, battling accusations from the press and the paparazzi, from protesters on the right and advocates on the left. Her daughter Fig knows they need help, and who better to call for help than family? Because India's not just an adoptive mom. She also has a baby she gave up for adoption her senior year of high school. That baby is now 16, excited to meet her birth mother and eager to help. But she also has an agenda and secrets of her own. It turns out what makes a family isn't blood and it isn't love, because no matter how they're formed, the hallmark of true family is it's complicated. So yeah, basically India makes this as part of this movie where adoption is like this tragedy, and like this kid like cannot function in life unless she meets her birth family, because and India is like completely against this because she placed a child for adoption and she also adopted, and she kind of went into it like adoption isn't necessarily a terrible thing and not every kid is suffering trauma and all that stuff. And I found it interesting because while she's trying to prove this, and I don't know if I'm supposed to take what I took from this book. Like, I don't know if that was the point, but throughout the book, it says in the description, her birth daughter wants to find her. Like, she wants a connection with her and all that. And India pretty much gave her up as a closed adoption where, like, I'm not going to interfere in your life. You are not my child, and you will be with your adoptive family. And so that's how she kind of saw it. And she thought that it was great. And so I think it kind of irked her to think that there are kids who are adopted who are like looking for their birth families and can't be full functioning human beings unless they know where they came from. And she wanted to disprove that. But in the end, to me, she actually proved herself wrong, because like her own kid wanted to find her. Like, even the kid's adoptive mom was like, you don't want an open adoption? Like, what's wrong with you? So, also, okay, that'd be kind of going into spoiler territory, but I will say that I did not like India very much because she was very pushy. Like, I felt like she sort of pushed the adoption decision on the father, and, like, he almost didn't have a choice in it at all. Like, it's my way or the highway, and I can't live in any in-betweens. So I didn't really like that about her, I guess. I don't know. So I gave it 4 stars, I think. I forgot to write it down. I can't go on Goodreads. It was an okay read. I enjoyed the kids, all of them. Fig is one of those kids who some people might hate, a precocious child. I love precocious kids. But, yeah, it was a great read either way. But as it says, it's complicated. Then I went back to my little house and I read Little Town at the Crossroads. This one is still taking place in Brookfield. I give this one 4 stars. This one's more fun because Caroline goes to school and is like part of the town, and we get to go places that's not a wash tub. So that one was really fun. Then I read A Little Clearing in the Woods, which is book 3. I gave it 4 stars as well. They have to move to Concord, another town. And so they're kind of starting over. And this one is definitely more Little House on the Prairie, where they're like building a home for themselves and stuff like that. And they meet Carolyn's future stepfather, I think, in this one. And On Top of Concord Hill is book 4. I read that one next. 4 stars as well. Kind of continues that story. Then I had to stop reading because they didn't have book 5, and I refuse to read the series unless it's complete. They have book 6 and 7, but no, I'm stopping right here until NLS gives me book 5. I think it's called Across the Rolling River. But like I said, I read books in order. I'm not skipping a book, so oh well. Then I read Embers in the London Sky by Sarah Sundin. I heard about this from multiple people: Book Lover Amanda, Jane Reads, Katie from Paperbacks and Ponytails. And like me, I know Katie and Amanda read it as soon as it came out. Or even before. I think in Katie's case, whatever. But it was great. We literally start right in on the action in this book, which is good. Alida, she escapes to London to avoid like the Nazis. And basically she's trying to leave an abusive husband who hates her child because he is missing the fingers on one hand. And she's trying to leave, and then he basically is like, I'm coming with you. And because I'm not staying here, we're all going to London or England or whatever. And that wasn't her plan, but she doesn't have much choice. And while she's asleep, he pretty much gives her kid away to some English couple and says bye-bye because he doesn't want him. And so like the rest of the book is, oh, right. And then after that, a bomb explodes and he dies, and like she has to figure out where her kid is. So the rest of it is searching for her 3-year-old little boy, Theo. And she basically helps an agency responsible for evacuating children to the countryside. She's trying to convince people to evacuate their kids. And, it's kind of a way to help find her own kid, because she has to interview these families and stuff like that. So, and then there's like a whole romance with a radio correspondent, Hugh Collingwood. And so they have their romance, which is sweet. For a minute, I was kind of mad at him because, I don't know. I don't think I would forgive him for this if I was her. Like, this is my grudgy self talking. But if anyone told me my kid is fine and won't remember me and to just stop looking for him and move on, I would probably go to jail. Let's leave it at that. This woman has more grace than I do because I would be in prison. If anyone said that to me, they would not get away with it. So, yes, this does not show my Christian self, but I have to live in my truth. So, yeah, that was the only thing that I had against this book, that she forgave him for saying that and actually believed him at one point. I was so mad. Like, that is an unforgivable thing to say, and that is all I have to say about that. But in the end, it all worked out the way it should, and I was happy about the ending. I would not forgive that comment. So, yeah. Then I read The Light in Hidden Places by Sharon Cameron. I gave this one 5 stars. I heard about this one from Lindsay from Lindsay's Little Library. Weirdly, I don't remember hearing about this from her, but that's what I wrote on my list, so I apparently did. I know I heard about Sharon Cameron from Amanda from On the Middle Shelf. She told me about a different book, but this one sounded more fun to start with, so. This is based on a true story of Stefania Podgorska. She's a teenager, and she hid 13 Jews in her attic during World War II. And she basically has to take care of her little sister as well during the war because she's by herself. Like, the family gets separated and she ends up with her 6-year-old sister. And they pretty much both work together to hide these Jews in their attic, including a friend of hers. She basically works for this. It starts before the war, and she works with this Jewish family. She's working for the Diamant family in their grocery store, and she falls in love with one of their kids, and yeah. I'm not going to say what happens to him, but his brother needs a place to hide, and yeah, she gives it to him, and then more come, and next thing you know, she has 13 Jews in her attic, and then there's a knock on the door, and, like, some Nazis are saying, yeah, we need your house, we're going to be living in your house. So basically, she's hiding a bunch of Jewish people, like, upstairs in her attic, and she has Nazis living in her house. So it's like, when are they going to get caught? Like, that's kind of the scariness and like, the thing that keeps you going in this book. And what's amazing is that it's a true story. So it's just kind of turned into fiction, like how, the author wrote it as to how Stefania might have felt. So it was a really interesting read. I love this book. I think Sharon Cameron's going to be a new World War II historical fiction author that I will love. So then I read The Land Beneath Us by Sarah Sundin. I heard about this one from Wandering with Stacy. It's a series, but honestly, I am not really interested in reading the first 2 in the series. It sounds like each book is about a different brother in the series, and the other 2 brothers sound like jerks that, again, my grudgy self would not forgive, so I do not want to get into their heads in the first 2 books. But I enjoyed this one a lot. Basically, it's about Private Clay Paxton. He's the 3rd brother, I guess, in this series, and he's basically betrayed by his brothers. It kind of explains what happens and what they do to betray him in this book. So you don't really have to read the first 2. And like I said, I don't want to because they did terrible things and I'm a grudge holder. So I don't want to spend time in their brains. But anyway, he meets Leah Jones. She's a librarian at Camp Forest. She came from an orphanage and she got a job as a librarian there, and she gets attacked, warning for sexual assault. She gets attacked, and Clay offers to marry her because he thinks he's going to die anyway, and it will give her respectability, which is, yeah. And so it's like a marriage of convenience and how that turns into more. And I enjoyed that. But that being said, apart from my grudge, the other thing you need to know is if you are not a Christian fiction reader, this is heavy Christian fiction. This has prayer, this has scripture, this has all of it. Like, this is not like other Sarah Sundin books I read where it's just a passing reference to church. This series is churchy, so if you do not like that, you will not like this book. So, I enjoyed it because I don't mind. I read Karen Kingsbury, which is way more than this. But, yeah, this is Christian fiction with Christianity in it. So, either way, I enjoyed it for the most part. I liked Leah a lot. And I hate the way people treat her because she's an orphan. Like, she's stuff in the bottom of their shoe. They're so mean to her. But, yeah, all in all, I enjoyed this book, not series. Then I reread A Fatal Grace by Louise Penny. It is the second book in the Armand Gamache series. I am reading them over again because Meredith from the Currently Reading podcast is doing A Journey to Three Pines. It's like a podcast series, 1 episode every other month, and they're already on book 5, so I need to reread so I can listen to the other episodes. I was still reading them for the first time when they first started the podcast, and I didn't want any spoilers by accident, so I decided to wait until I finished and then restart the series, if that makes any sense. So, yeah, I read this one again. I enjoyed it. A lot of people don't like this book, but I do. I gave it 5 stars. Not going to talk about it. It's series. Then I finished reading Pioneer Girl for the Little House Readathon. This one took me a couple of weeks. It's long, very long, but it's really good. I did do some skimming, I'll admit. It's the annotated autobiography. Basically, we get Laura's journals. Like, she apparently wrote journal style, or like her autobiography. I need a drink. She basically wrote like her real life story and tried to get it published, but people didn't think it that interesting. It kind of talks about like the different publishers that they took it to and stuff like that. And then we finally get to read her story and how she wrote it. And, you know, it's interesting. But like I said, I did do a little skimming just because there's footnotes everywhere. It's an annotated autobiography. So it stops every so often to tell you, like, about certain people. And some of it was interesting and some of it was like, I don't care about the railroad man and who he was that Laura met in North Dakota. I was about to say Lorelai. I've been watching Gilmore Girls. Anyway, yeah, some of the stuff I skimmed past, but a lot of it was really interesting. Like the real journey, I guess, because like the Little House books, it's still their real journey, but she took some liberties with that to make them more kid friendly and stuff like that. But she went through a lot of stuff. Like, oof. I want to read Prairie Fires next. I was going to wait until next Little House Readathon just because it took me so long to read this one, and Prairie Fires is huge, but I don't think I can wait. I'm going to read it maybe this month. We'll see. There's middle grade March to do first, but I enjoyed this book a lot. Then I read Artifice by Sharon Cameron. I gave this one 3 stars. This is the one that I heard about from Amanda from On the Middle Shelf. I read the description just because. Okay. Issa DeSmit grew up in the glittery, color-filled world of art, in her eccentric father's small gallery, mingling with artists and collectors, until the Nazis invaded her city of Amsterdam. With her beloved city firmly in their grip, the Nazis have removed everyone and everything Issa holds dear. Her best friend Truus and her boyfriend Willem have fled to join the shadowy Dutch resistance, and masterpiece by masterpiece, the Nazis are buying and stealing her country's heritage, feeding the Third Reich's ravenous appetite for culture and art. With the gallery artwork confiscated by way of the Nazis and taxes due, Issa decides to sell her first fake, a Rembrandt copy drawn years ago by her father, and is shocked to learn that the buyer is the Fuhrer himself. Then on the way to the auction, she discovers that Truus and Willem are smuggling Jewish babies out of Amsterdam into hiding. The sale of the Rembrandt goes without a hitch, despite the sharp eye of the young German soldier registering the art. For Issa, selling a forgery to the Nazis feels less like a crime and more like an act of vengeance on behalf of her country. But Truus and Willem cannot save more children without money. A lot of money. And Issa thinks she knows how to get it. If she can create one more forgery, a copy of an exquisite Vermeer masterpiece, she is certain that the Nazis will pay a fortune to own it. Issa is up against a ticking clock as the Nazis plan to deport the last of Amsterdam's Jews to the concentration camps in just a few days' time. But someone is on to Issa's plan. With everything on the line and stakes as high as they possibly could be, Issa wonders, will she be arrested as a forger? Or outed as a collaborator, and the children shipped to their deaths? So, yeah, I did not enjoy this one as much as The Light in Hidden Places. It sounds really exciting, but in reality, it's a lot about art and how to forge stuff. And it was just boring to me. Like, I'm not saying I wanted tons of action. I mean, we're talking about Jewish babies, like, dying. But I was just bored and kind of skimming through a lot of it. So, and I didn't understand a lot of it. So, and like the transactions. So it just didn't work for me. It was okay. I was invested enough to finish it and find out if these babies got rescued, but that was it. Then I read I started reading the American Girl books, Julie's books, because I'm behind on the Dolls of Our Lives podcast, where they recap every single American Girl book. I was on hold for a long time for the Julie audio collection, so I had to catch up. So the Julie books take place in the 70s. First, I gave all of them 3 stars. So Meet Julie is basically her and her mom and sister moving into their new, like, apartment after her parents' divorce, which she's very sad about. And she wants to try out for the basketball team, and no girls allowed, and there's no girls basketball team, so she fights to get on the girls team. On the boys team. So that one was okay. It was fine. Then Julie tells her story. I gave 3 stars. That one is basically just kind of her having to sort of tell her life story to the class, and being nervous to tell them that her parents are divorced. A lot of these books really revolve around her parents' divorce, just because it's something she's grappling with. Happy New Year, Julie she celebrates Chinese New Year with her best friend, but she also has to grapple with her first Christmas without her mom and dad together, and she's having Christmas with her dad, and her sister is, like, hating her dad. I think that is the thing that probably made these books a little annoying. Tracy's annoying. I think because we're in, like, the younger characters' heads, I find the older characters infuriating. Like, I never side with the older siblings in books when we're in, like, the younger kid's head, because their side always feels more like something I would side with. So, yeah, I found Tracy to be annoying. I understand she's upset about the divorce, but honestly, call me materialistic and selfish, but I'd be more mad at my mom for making us move into this tiny place and, you know, over my dad. So, yeah, I'm bad. But, you know, she basically blames her dad for the divorce and is, like, completely teen mom, and Julie's sort of stuck in the middle. So, yeah. Oh. I guess I took a break after book 3. I read 5B Poppy Lane by Debbie Macomber. It's a novella in the Cedar Cove series. I did not read this one before. I didn't know it existed. It's about this love story during World War II. And yeah, it was really interesting. I don't really want to talk about it because it's a short story. So, then I read 50 Harbor Street by Debbie Macomber. 5 stars, 4 stars, I can't remember. Basically, this detective and his wife are getting, like, these creepy notes saying, do you think about regrets and stuff like that? And so they're freaked out, and the real huge plot of it is who did it. And again, I haven't read these in so long that I genuinely wanted to know. I couldn't remember. And then this is when I finished the last 3 books in the American Girls Julie series. I kind of just read through the rest of them yesterday to finish them. So Julie and the Eagles, 3 stars. I liked it. Okay, it's Julie wanting to rescue some eagles. Julie's Journey. They basically do this covered wagon trip to celebrate the bicentennial, and wear pioneer dresses and stuff. It was okay. And then changes for Julie. Julie wants to be student body president, and she meets a new friend, Joy, who is deaf, and kind of has to see other kids make fun of her and grapple with that because she wants to win presidency, but she also wants to be a good friend, so she doesn't want to ditch Joy. It's kind of sad. Anyway, this is really long, I think. That's all I read this month. So, yeah. Hopefully next month I will read tons of middle grade. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I'm really hoping to get to 100 subscribers before the end of this year. I have like 70 something, which is exciting, but honestly, I mean, I'd be excited with like 500, but 100 is still a milestone, so I'll go small. Anyway, please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys in my next video. Bye.
Rear right edge. Stop recording video.